But I think what's significant here is the president has decided to take the tactics that are working in defeating ISIS in Afghanistan and Syria, put them into practice in Afghanistan, and given the freedom and the resources, we know that our soldiers are going to be able to win just as much in Afghanistan as they've been winning in Iraq.
All right, the Vice President outlining this this morning on Fox and Friends. The Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, is expected to hold a briefing on that same Afghan strategy shortly, and the President of the United States en route to Phoenix, Arizona, where tonight he will address a campaign rally crowd, and you know those events can go. After the President's widely praised speech last night, even though it was devoid of a lot of specifics, which is probably as the President and his advisors wanted it, there are those who are wondering whether he can follow up tonight and not lose the momentum of the gravitas of that speech, whatever gravitas means. It has never been attached to me, but it has been attached to this next fellow, the former CIA Director, Ambassador James Woolsey. Ambassador, good to have you.
Great to be with you.
All right, if you had to advise the President when he's going to this campaign rally after this widely regarded speech, and I think you were among those who liked what he had to say, how would you advise him?
Well, he is, at this point now, it looks like working with good speechwriters, with inputs from these excellent military officers that have cabinet positions and so forth, and carefully crafted, and this was a good speech. But in the past, he will do that once, and then he'll, in the middle of the night, he'll wake up, I guess, and say, hey, wouldn't it be fun to tweet? And then something will wander off into left field.
Well, what do you think his Chief of Staff, John Kelly, a decorated veteran, four-star general, what do you think he tells him? I mean, does he just say, oh, the hell with it, I can't advise you on tweeting? But he must tell the President, you see the good press you're getting here from this speech. You see the market, the global market reaction. They like what they see. They like what they hear. Wouldn't that be enough to for the President to say, you know, yeah.
Yeah, it should be. And he needs to listen to people like...
Well, maybe he has, right? By reversing his views on Afghanistan before. Maybe this is the first
That
sign.
was a good indicator. I think he needed to reverse his views on Afghanistan. I don't think we can cut and leave the way some people have urged that we do.
But after 16 years,
I know, but if we leave that part of the world completely chaotic, it's going to infect a lot of the rest of the world.
But what would a few thousand more troops do?
Well, it's not so much the troop numbers as it is what they do. Mm-hmm. If they're used a lot more effectively with drones, let's say, if they're used a lot more to be able to carry out orders based on battlefield orders rather than having to go back via internet, encrypted hopefully, to corporate headquarters and listen for you know, things get changed hourly. Yeah. The people who are running things for him now really know how to run a military campaign, and he needs to stick with that. If he will.
But he's doing all the right things, right?
So far,
I mean, if you argue that by reversing his own gut view on Afghanistan that was years long and years held, on listening to his generals, shaking up and getting rid of a lot of people he deeply liked and considered close friends in his own administration in favor of moderate, reasonable individuals. He's trying to do all the right things.
I think he is, and I think so far so good on this new installment. It's 1 day old, and this new approach. But I think he does have a definite chance of shifting things here. People want him to succeed. A lot of people want him to succeed, and this habit of getting started on something and then veering off into talking about it without...
But his gut's pretty good. It got him elected. I understand where he comes from in this stuff. He is the president, as he often reminds people. You're not. But, you know, the markets were running up like crazy, still are, Ambassador, and particularly defense stocks. And I always wonder when I see that kind of reaction, particularly in defense stocks, that are billions of market value, whether that's justified just on a speech.
Probably not. The market does all sorts of crazy things.
Careful, that's my lifeblood.
Sorry.
But you're right, you're right.
But I think that...
the reason I mentioned it, because they seem to be thinking there's going to be a lot more military spending coming as a result.
Well, there may be. I hope not, because the country can't really afford profligacy with respect to financing anything right now. We're in a $1 trillion debt and so forth. But we also can't leave this major part of the world in absolute chaos. It has got to get headed on the right track. And I think we're starting there now. We need to do something like what we did in Anbar. And they probably ought to bring some of the people back who helped Anbar turn in the proper direction.
Yeah, bring back the people who got you there. Ambassador, very good having you here.
Great to be with you.
I'd love to talk to the ambassador more, but he has to tweet. The guy's a nut about this sort of stuff.
No, no.
Oh, no. Well,